He's back. Once one of the biggest names in the Connecticut Democratic Party, Ned Lamont is with us today to talk about running for governor. Plus, what do nutmeggers really want from their next governor? And are they happy here? Insight from the creators of two influential websites, Ronnie Newton of Weha.com and Steve Krautchik of DoingItLocal.com. Also, after a young local boy dies after getting the flu, people are asking, is this the worst flu season ever in Connecticut? The Commissioner of Public Health, Dr. Raul Pino, is here with us today. Our flashback, 40 years ago this week, catastrophe in downtown Hartford. It's all straight ahead on Face the State this Sunday morning, January 21st, 2018.
From Eyewitness News, Connecticut's most watched local political program, this is Face the State.
Good morning and thanks for joining us today. I'm Dennis House. He is arguably the best known name now in the race for governor. We're talking about Ned Lamont, who became a national hero of sorts a dozen years ago when he defeated Senator Joe Lieberman in the Connecticut Senate Democratic primary. Well, now he is running for governor once again after losing to Dan Malloy in 2010. Let's learn a little bit about Mr. Lamont. He is 64 years old, a former Greenwich selectman, founder of Campus Televideo, and as I mentioned, the 2006 Senate nominee. And with us today is Mr. Ned Lamont. Mr. Lamont, good to see you back here in the program. It's been a while.
Been a while. Great to be back.
So you were an observer for the last 8 years during the Malloy administration. Now you've decided, I want to be CEO of this state. What made you make that decision?
Well, first of all, I haven't been an observer. I've been active in the state ever since we challenged Dan back in 2010. I really thought back then we needed fundamental change to get this state going again. I worried in the last debate we had in that election that, look, if we nickel and dime around the edges and don't make the changes we need, we could be having the same discussion 8 years later. And here we are. And I'm going to be the candidate that brings the change, makes a difference, gets an honestly balanced budget so business and labor and our teachers and parents know what they can expect going forward.
In your announcement this week, you said the political class has neglected Connecticut and the people of Connecticut for the last 30 to 40 years. What specifically went wrong and what was done over the last 4 decades that got us into our present precarious situation?
It is a precarious situation, and it shouldn't be. This is a state that has such amazing assets, the most productive workforce in the country, great universities, a strategic location. Some pretty good business clusters that have been here for a while. They want to grow, they want to expand, they want to hire, they want to create jobs. And yet we've had a political class, which, as you point out, over the last several generations, has not been able to come up with an honestly balanced budget, made promises to our state employees, and they didn't provide any of the funding necessary to do it. They stopped investing in our future. They stopped investing in infrastructure, in roads, in bridges, and all the things Connecticut needs to grow and prosper.
Was the income tax of 1991 a mistake?
No, that was not a mistake. We brought down significantly other tax rates. It broadened our tax base. And to tell you the truth, when John Rowland took over from Lowell Weicker, he inherited a pretty good surplus over the next few years. And instead of investing that in our pension fund, instead of working for some pension reforms, he squandered that money. And that's why we have a lot of the pension crisis we have today.
You've been on this program several times over the last dozen years, and I want to pull up a quote that you said to me in 2010. At the end of the day, I hold the governor accountable. That's what a CEO does. That was from Face the State, February 2010, almost 10 years ago. Do you hold Governor Malloy accountable for the situation the state's in now?
Well, I'd say two things. He did fund the pension fund. He did get some reforms. If we had done that 20 years ago, we wouldn't be in that pickle today. But let's face it, Dennis, we didn't solve the problem. And we're still looking at $1 billion deficits as far as the eye can see. We're still looking at a budget where we sit around nickel and diming and cutting this and cutting that and talking about raising rates. And that incredible sense of uncertainty is what creates a certain sense of pessimism in the state. I got to make people believe in the state of Connecticut again.
There is a presumption in your candidacy, perhaps an unsaid statement from Ned Lamont that, listen, had you voted for me in 2010 instead of Dan Malloy, we would be in a better situation than we are today. How would our state be different if we had had a Governor Lamont the last 8 years?
I think I would have tried to have done more sooner.
Such as?
It was a crisis then. We were coming out of the economic downturn. You know, when it came to our pension crisis, when it came to the high cost of health care, when it came to all the necessary investments that Connecticut has got to make, I think I would have done more sooner. I would have, instead of just sitting around increasing tax rates a little bit, I would have pushed for fundamental tax reform. You know, we have a revenue stream in this state that's unpredictable, unreliable. It means that every 2 years, Dennis, we go through budgetary hell. We just don't know what our budget's going to be. And now, 2 or 3 months later, it's out of whack again. You can't run a business that way. You can't run a state that way. It's unfair to our people, and it's unfair to our workers.
People want change. How can you argue that another Democratic governor will be a change from the one we have now?
I don't know if I'm another Democratic governor. I've always done my own thing. You know, I think people know that I'm willing to stand up and challenge. I stood up and challenged my own party in 2006, and I think we were right. And we got more people to turn out for that primary than ever before. And I'm willing to challenge again. I'm going to be that outsider. I'm proud to be that outsider. I'm proud to be the first guy coming into the governor's office with a business background. I'm also somebody who listens, who's somebody who works with others, who listens to labor, respects what our teachers are doing, respects what our nurses are doing. And it's that sense of respect that's going to get people to the table and help us move forward.
Years ago, you delivered a warning to the people of Connecticut and to me about something that really is a phenomenon now. And you had said that you had noticed people in your town of Greenwich were starting to spend more and more time in Florida, make their residency in another state to save on income tax. And as you know, income tax revenues are way down. How bad has the problem gotten?
Hey, look, you've got some folks are leaving the state. Young folks are leaving the state.
Wealthy
some
folks.
of the wealthy folks are leaving the state. Some of our major businesses are leaving the state. And I'm going to turn that around. I've got to convince people that we are going to turn around the state of Connecticut and make this a place where you want to be. And look, this is the state where, you know, I met my wife, we educated our kids, I started my business. You know, I'm sticking, and I've got to convince everybody else that this is a place where they want to be.
But how do you compete with a state that has warmer weather and no income tax?
Look, Del Rey on a Thursday night is pretty boring. Connecticut's got a lot going for it. You know, we got amazing cultural institutions. We have beautiful beaches. Our kids are here. Hopefully our grandkids are here. We have an ecosystem. We have a neighborhood. We have a state where I want to make people want to be.
As you know, Amazon is not coming to Connecticut. We've been eliminated from the list. What would you have done differently with the Amazon pitch? And did you think the state ever had a chance?
Oh, I think the state had a good chance. Look, I would have taken the lead as governor. You know, instead we pieced it out and let the mayors take their shot at it. You know, we're a small state. We should have acted together. I would have, I would have gone to everybody in this state who has a relationship with Amazon, on the board, knows people there. B, I would have said, we have something called the UBS building. It is 700,000 square feet. It has state-of-the-art architecture. It is ready to be occupied. And I would have said, C, we have Bradley Airport. It's not fully utilized. Maybe Amazon can use this as their distribution hub. I would have tried to think a little out of the box and got their attention. We're not going to let the next Amazon slip by, I'll tell you that.
You said that you're going to have a lot of women in your administration. Specifically, can you name some who you think would fill key positions right now? And are you surprised that of all the gubernatorial candidates this year, there aren't any declared women at all?
Well, they're about to be, I think.
Yeah,
but,
Susan Bysowitz, and we'll talk about that.
Hey, look, my wife has been very active in business. My two daughters remind me every day what it is to listen and to be a better father and be, you know, a better leader. And I appreciate every day how important it is that we get women involved, in state government and where we got to go forward. And I'll tell you something else. As a business person, we got to make sure the workforce accommodates the single mom. A workforce accommodates, you know, the two-earner family with paid family and medical leave and health care. Just take that risk off the table. Got to make sure the business can join the workforce so we get everybody involved.
Very briefly, because we only have a couple seconds left, your potential opponent, Susan Bysowitz, is going to be getting into the race. She would be the other big name in the Democratic Party. What do you think of her candidacy? Perhaps, you know, Joe Ganim is already in the race, Sean Conley, maybe Luke Bronin, Jonathan Harris.
Hey, look, I think it's good for Connecticut to have a lot of competition and a robust set of ideas. But let's face it, Dennis, I'm a slightly different breed of cat. You know, I have not spent the last 25 years in Hartford, not for lack of trying. You know, I come a little bit from a business background. I'm an outsider. I'm ready to go up to Hartford. I'm ready to challenge the status quo and make the changes we need to get this state moving again.
Good enough. Ned Lamont, Democratic candidate for governor, thank you for coming on today. We'll certainly have you on again to talk about more issues. Later in the broadcast, we'll analyze Mr. Lamont's chances for his run for governor this year. And also, coming up next, the killer flu is here in Connecticut. What can be done about it? And we welcome you to check out some past editions of Face the State on our website, WFSB.com, and our new YouTube channel.